So it has exposed these things, and I was pleasantly surprised when I appeared in Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman on Tuesday. They showed this clip before they introduced me where Gordon Brown was making a speech at the British Prime Minister on Monday, where he said, actually, we have been imposing these policies on developing countries that we have never used ourselves. Huh? So, you know, that if you keep shouting something, finally, it gets heard. Huh? Anyway, so this current situation poses both challenges and opportunities for industrial development in developing countries. At this point, of course, people might ask, but should we really believe that developing countries need industrialization to develop? You know, how about agriculture? You know, they have natural advantages in agriculture. How about services? India has done very well on the basis of services. I mean, these are natural questions, but unfortunately, if you look at the historical information more carefully, there's really no country that established a high productivity agriculture without a serious industrial base. This is because these things can be built only with highly the industrialized inputs, fertilizer. I mean, despite having something like the 5th or 6th highest population density in the world, the Netherlands is the 3rd largest exporter of agriculture. How? They don't even have land. How do you do agriculture? Well, they do a hydroponic culture. You basically grow things in water. They have computer controlled feeding. They have those technologies. That's why they can have the high productivity agriculture. So agricultural development also needs industry. It's the fantasy to believe that you can just have agriculture on its own. Services, most services have very limited scope for productivity growth. How more efficient can a barber become? I mean, if you're not convinced by that example, how about the string quartet? How do you improve the productivity of a string quartet? I mean, going through it at double the speed? So a lot of services industry, because they cannot be mechanized by definition, cannot raise productivity that much. There are some sectors which can do that, but these are, in proportional terms, very small, and they also happen to be, if you like, dependent on the manufacturing sector, which are the high productivity service activities which where productivity can be raised relatively quickly. These are all things like technical services in relation to information technology, consulting, financial services. These are all basically for the manufacturing industry. Banks do not well, at least mainly earn money by lending to each other. And finally, I mean, many services are non-tradable. So if you become too dependent on the services, you have balance of payment problem. So for all these reasons, no country of any size has become rich on the basis of services. One example I love to give people is Switzerland. There's this famous quote from Orson Welles in the movie The Third Man, where he says, if you look at, he appears as this evil character who deals in black market penicillin in post-war Vienna, and he kind of praises evil in this scene, and he says, if you look at Renaissance Italy, I mean, they had all the bad things about human nature, poisoning, murder, God knows what, but they gave us Leonardo da Vinci, they gave us Michelangelo. The Swiss had 500 years of democracy and brotherly love. What did they give us? The Cuckoo Clock. This is the image of Switzerland that people have. It's a country that, I mean, if you're in a good mood, you say there's a post-industrial society which lives on services sector like banking and tourism. If you're in a foul mood, you'd say that, well, this is a country that lives off the black money deposited in its banks by African dictators, and by selling tacky souvenirs like cuckoo clock and cowbells to unsuspecting Japanese and American tourists. Now, actually, there's a lot more wrong about this story than I can tell you. I mean, for one example, cuckoo clock wasn't actually invented in Switzerland. It's a German invention. Switzerland didn't have democracy until very recently. I mean, it's only in 1971 that women got vote in Switzerland. If you count these two rogue cantons which refused to follow the federal decision, Switzerland officially became democracy only in 1991 when the last canton gave up the fight. So, which 500 years of democracy? Anyway, but the image we have of Switzerland is this, but in fact, if you actually look at the statistics, Switzerland is literally the most industrialized country in the world. Per capita industrial value added in Switzerland is the highest in the world, 25% higher than Japan, which is number 2, 2.2 times that of the United States. Same, similar story is Singapore. I mean, you think, oh, as a small island city, it must rely a lot on services. No, I mean, Singapore is a highly industrialized economy. So, I mean, basically, this fantasy that somehow everyone can become Luxembourg and Monaco and live happily ever after is completely misleading. These countries need to industrialize even to develop agriculture. So what is to be done? Well, there are many things that have to be done. I mean, in a way, we don't know where to begin. I mean, you have to provide protection for infant industries, you have to invest in infrastructure, you have to train the workers, I mean, all sorts of things. But, I mean, and for that reason, people think, this is going to be impossible, but you know, I urge you to remain optimistic, because back in 1961, my own country, South Korea, had per capita income that's less than half that of Ghana's. You know, today is, well, I mean, one of the poorest OECD economies, but it's still quite a developed economy. Now, at the moment, there's a lot of hand-wringing about the rise of protectionism and the revival of smooth, holy market access. I think this concern is legitimate, but you have to put things into perspective. First of all, smooth, holy actually didn't destroy the world trading system. It was shrinking demand and unavailability of trade credit that did it. Economic historians have written about this. Secondly, smooth, holy, you know, people think, oh yeah, America used to do free trade and smooth, holy raised tariff to 50%. No, before smooth, holy, American industrial tariff was 40%, well, close to 40%. And only Italy and Spain raised the tariff significantly after smooth, holy. Most other countries basically maintained the previous level of tariff. Germany didn't raise any tariff after smooth, holy. So somehow this the myth has been developed to scare people off, to preempt the rational argument, because as soon as you can say smooth, holy, then you have to shut up your opponent. And thirdly, don't forget that today we are living in a different world. Unlike in the 1930s, we have the WTO, we have the European Union, we have all these regional and bilateral free trade agreements. So even if countries want it, they cannot raise tariff like that.